First, open Rust, go into Settings, and start with the Gameplay section. For field of view, set it to 90. Keep head bob off, set crosshair off, hit cross off, and hurt flash off. Keep compass visibility on, and for the FPS counter, use basic. Also set rich presence to off. These aren't all major FPS settings by themselves. The goal here is to reproduce the overall competitive setup rather than randomly turning everything down. And now we get to the section that actually matters for performance. 2. Graphics quality. For graphics quality, add 1 and setup uses medium. Set render scale to 1.0 and keep Nvidia DLSS off. Now for the settings that can significantly reduce unnecessary rendering: shadow quality, 0, shadow cascades, no cascades, max shadow lights, 0, water quality, 0, and water reflections, 0. These settings remove or reduce several expensive visual effects that aren't essential for competitive gameplay. Next set, shader level, 100, draw distance, 1284, shadow distance, 50, anisotropic filtering, 1, and parallax mapping, 0. Tired of lag, high ping, and packet loss ruining your games? Gear up. Booster optimizes your connection for lower latency, smoother gameplay, and faster shot registration. It works automatically in the background with no complicated setup. Download Gear Up Booster, free from the link in the description, and enjoy lag-free gaming. Finally, keep grass displacement on. Notice something important here. This isn't simply a case of putting every slider on the absolute minimum. Some settings remain relatively high, while expensive effects such as shadows, reflections, and parallax are heavily reduced. That's what makes this setup different from simply destroying the game's visual quality. 3. Nvidia reflex. There's also one setting you should pay attention to if you're using an Nvidia GPU. Set Nvidia reflex mode to on plus boost. The important thing here is that this is part of Add1and's actual configuration. So if you're following this setup exactly, don't skip it. And now let's move into the mesh settings, because this is where the setup gets a little more interesting. 4. Mesh quality. For particle quality, set it to 100, object quality 200, tree quality 200, max tree, meshes 100, and terrain quality 100. Then lower the settings that don't provide much value for a competitive setup. Grass quality 0, decor quality 0, and for RGB lighting, set it to off. Brightness stays at 1.0. This is another good example of why you shouldn't just copy a random everything on low preset. Object and tree quality remain at 200, while grass and decorative elements are completely reduced. The idea is to keep the important parts of the environment visible while cutting back on unnecessary effects. 5. Turn off the expensive image effects. Now we're going into image effects. This section is extremely straightforward. Set anti-aliasing to off, depth of field off, ambient occlusion off, high quality bloom off, lens dirt off, and motion. Blur off, then sun shafts off, sharpen on, and vignetting off. This is one of the easiest parts of the setup to copy because there isn't much to think about. You're basically removing cinematic effects that aren't necessary when you're trying to keep gameplay clear and performance focused. And keeping sharpen on helps maintain a clear image after reducing some of these effects. 6. Resolution and display settings. Now let's finish the actual display configuration. Set your resolution to 1920 by 1080, aspect ratio 16:9, display mode full screen, set VSync to off, and finally FPS limit to 0. These settings are important because resolution directly affects how much your GPU has to render. If you're using a different resolution because of your monitor, don't blindly change your Windows resolution just because this profile uses 1920 by 1080. The settings in the PDF specifically use 1920 by 1080. So that's the configuration we're reproducing here. 7. Mouse settings. For the mouse section, add one and uses mouse sensitivity 0.2, aiming mouse sensitivity 1.0, and vehicle sensitivity 1.0. These aren't FPS settings, so don't expect them to increase your frame rate. They're included because we're reproducing the complete in-game profile rather than mixing random settings together. 9. Final result, and that's the complete add one and Rust in-game settings setup. The important thing is not to expect a guaranteed FPS number from these settings. So how much do you increase FPS